Good morning, all, and welcome back to the Athletes United Experience here on the Edge Radio Networks, where truth still matters. I'm your host, Big Mel, henceforth known as his judgeship, master and final arbiter on all that he surveys, and the voice of reason on any number of topics. This program over time has always held an interest in timely subject matter that may or may not extend beyond sports and athletics, health and wellness, or fitness. We recognize people in skilled crafts, social developments, the business community, as well as the arts. Well, this morning, at the top of the hour, his judgeship recognizes a rising artist from our nation's capital, whose stardust is evident the moment you get a load of her vibe. She has a passion for smooth jazz, voice improv, a real school mix of bossa nova, etc. And she has released a new work called To Love Again. And we get the privilege to debut her single arrangement of the great Nat King Cole tune known as Smile from her newly released album, again, To Love Again, on Athletes United today. We're excited about that. So take a gander at this.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the
Viewers and listeners, welcome to the Athletes United Experience, the great Karuna Shinsho, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Karina Shinsho. Good morning, fair artist, and tell us what's good.
Hello, how are you, Big Mel? Thank you
Very
so
good.
much for having me today. Gave me a good excuse to get out of my pandemic pajamas and clean up. So I thank you for that.
Believe me, it's our honor. We're just thrilled to have you. And got a few questions for you if you wouldn't mind, huh? Listen,
Sure.
you have this, we just sort of snippet of, your arrangement of Smile. Tell us about Smile, huh? Tell us more about that.
Right. So you mentioned my album, To Love Again. It was supposed to be released this year, but unfortunately with the pandemic, recording for the second half of the album was postponed. So that's probably going to come out next year sometime, fingers crossed. But my producer, Nani Assis, and I felt that, we really should try to get at least one song out this year because we had been, talking about it a lot with our friends and people out there. And so we thought that Smile would be a good one to put out. And it's a unique arrangement. Nani Assis was the one who came up with the idea to give it a bit of a neo soul vibe. We have the talented vocalist Danny Assis as well singing along with me on that song. And I think in terms of releasing it now, with the pandemic and a lot of the troubling and trying times that the world and our country has had to go through. I think the message of Smile, is really great to have out there now, to be able to have hope and to try to be optimistic even during the most difficult times.
Oh, no question about that. While we're at it, let's mention those producers' name again and the accompaniment. Anis, what's his name?
Yeah, Nani Assis.
Nani
So
Assis.
he is a Brazilian singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. I met him actually, a few years ago. He was conducting a workshop on the Brazilian percussive instrument pandero. And I thought, it would be great to go to the workshop and learn a bit more about it, especially because I love bossa nova. And then after the workshop, we just became, good friends. And he also became a sort of, mentor to me, teaching me more about Brazil's, musical history, helping with me with my Portuguese, as I try to sing the songs in Portuguese, I think just to honor the music. So, he's been really a great help. And because of him, really, I was able to work on this album. He was the one, maybe about a year back or so, asked me, why don't you record something? And I just thought at that time, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I want to get better. And I have to be, perfect,
Perfect.
in order to record an album.
That's right.
But, he pushed me and he said, there's really never a perfect time. Like, for example, this year with the pandemic, I mean, anything could happen in life. And
Sure.
if you just don't seize the moment, you just never know when you'll be able to, seize that opportunity again. So, his belief in me was a driving force. And he was also a very challenging mentor as well. Forced me to learn all the songs in Portuguese. Um, so yes, I'm very thankful and grateful to Nanny, and because of him, I was able to record,
Fantastic.
start
Is
recording.
this 2020 after all? Weird things have happened during this year, if you will. And
It's
so we're
been crazy.
grateful to him for stirring that passion in you and to getting this work out here already. Now, Corona, you were in media and public affairs before. You were a journalist. Uh,
Yes.
how did you go from there to recording an album? Try to explain that to us.
Right. So I was in broadcast journalism for over 15 years in my past life. But music really has been a big part of my life since growing up in Hawaii. My father used to be a classical music DJ. And with that job, he would get, tons of promotional free, at that time, they were called records. And so I grew up listening to all kinds of music, particularly classical music, but, there were also other kinds of albums that he would get. And so, yeah, music played a big part growing up. And then later, my father actually, he used to be a professor of philosophy, but once he retired, he decided to pursue singing and
Really?
went to Rome to study opera, and afterwards started to give charity concerts in Japan and in
Huh.
Europe as well. And then started studying also Japanese folk music, and he enters competitions in Japan as a senior. So I'm really proud of him, and I guess that sort of love of music was passed down from him.
This became a
Um,
part of your bloodline, huh?
yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so. But I think in terms of singing today, about 5 years ago, I went through a difficult time in my family life, AKA divorce.
Huh.
And as a woman, as a mother, and as a wife, we tend to, uh, we work for others, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we tend to kind of forget about, what our needs are or
Mm.
ourselves, And so when I went through that divorce, I had to rediscover myself basically, and I had to find something that was mine, and that brought me joy. And I found out that singing, and I love jazz as well,
Yeah.
was something that I really wanted to study. So there was a local jazz workshop here, and I signed up for it. And it kind of started from there. I guess the bug hit. The workshop was really interesting. It was very practical. You could, for a 6 or 8 week period, study with, we have a local jazz pianist, Chris Grasso. He was conducting the workshop, but,
Hmm.
learn a few tunes with him. And then at the end of the 6, 8 week period, you would actually perform live with a trio, a pianist, a bass player, and a drummer. And the first time I went on stage, it was just, it was very scary, and
Was it?
I'm sure it was terrible, but then you realize, like, oh, it is something to be kind of expressing yourself through song. And I thought that there was more to do, more to study. So I continued from there, and just started to gig locally. I was starting to do that before the pandemic, but then when the pandemic hit, everything kind of came to a standstill. But yeah, I think that's something that I'd like to do more of once we get a handle on this pandemic, and we
That's
can
very
get out there.
powerful. I mean, it's a very powerful story. You felt that you were somehow sublimating your free expression for years, and suddenly you had the will and the means to do it.
Right. Yeah, I think it's music is a healing medium, I believe strongly. And initially, I think I turned to it to heal, the hurt and the trauma that I was going through. It was also a way for me to uh, find my self identity again. But ultimately, though, after going through that phase, that cycle, at the end of the day, it's about joy. It brings me joy when I sing, and hopefully you also can pass on that joy to others, and hopefully touch people as well.
That's powerful. You mentioned growing up in Hawaii, as if that's a garden variety experience. I mean, that's not a normal childhood for those of us captured somehow within the Contiguous 48. Tell us about that. How was that?
Yeah, so my parents are originally from Japan, but they went to Hawaii to study at graduate school, University of Hawaii there, and that's how they met, got married, and I was born there. And I grew up there until I was 13. It was a great place to grow up. It's a multicultural, society, lots of different races, and very relaxing. They have the aloha spirit, which is nice. But then I had to move to Japan in my teens because my mother had to go back to take care of her great grandfather. And so that kind of started a completely new phase in my life where, I thought I was pretty good in Japanese because I used to study Japanese in Hawaii. After my normal school, I would go to a Japanese language school to learn Japanese. But oh my gosh, once I moved to Japan, my Japanese was really not, so I had to
Difference.
relearn the language and also learn more about the culture. So, at the time I felt, sad to have to leave Hawaii, and I was, a little upset. And you're a teenager, and it's hard during those times. But in retrospect, it was the most wonderful experience. I had a lot of great opportunities in Japan. I mean, my broadcast journalism career started there. So if I had never moved to Japan from Hawaii, that would never have happened. So, and also I'm, ethnically Japanese. So it's a good thing to learn about my cultural heritage as well. So
That didn't hurt, huh?
no, it didn't at all.
I would imagine. Well, tell us a little bit more about your musical journey. When did you start singing
Yeah, it was about 5 years ago when I mentioned earlier about the, when I went through those trying times of my divorce. Basically, that's when it all started. But my love of jazz really started when I was in college in Japan. I had a producer who loved jazz, and he would take me to clubs in Tokyo. And the first time I went to one, the late great Nancy Wilson was performing there. I had never heard her sing before. I didn't know any of her songs, but she sang her signature song, Guess Who I Saw Today.
Yeah.
And when I first started listening, I was like, oh yeah, this is a nice tune. It's great melody, and it's like a story, but yeah, it's great. But then she got to the very end, and I was like, oh my God, her husband was having an affair with someone. I mean, it was just like, whoa, So it was her ability, her masterful ability to tell a story.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. I mean, it was just, I was so blown away by that experience. I was lucky to have met her after that gig of hers, and she was very, she was very kind and nice and spoke to me and my producer. And so, it was a really lovely experience. And I think basically my love of jazz really started from there.
What an influence. What an influence. Now, Bossa Nova. I mean, that's kind of a boutique art form in the country jazz. What
Yeah, well,
is that?
you lived in Brazil too, right? At
I
some
live in
point.
Brazil.
Right.
Brazil,
So
as they refer to it.
unfortunately, I've never been there yet, and I'm that's kind of like, my
Uh-huh.
immediate to-do list once this pandemic is over, because I feel that I really need to get to the country and experience the culture and really hear the music there too.
Nothing like
But I mean, as you listen to João Gilberto, for example, I mean, he's
yeah.
one of my top favorite bossa nova artists. I mean, the way he can play the guitar
Yeah.
and sing, so effortlessly, is yeah. I just was smitten. I love bossa nova, and so I try to sing a lot of bossa nova as well. And my producer Nani Assis, I studied guitar with him as well. I mean, I just started that this year with pandemic. We have a lot more time now, so I've tried to use that time to study piano and guitar in order to help with my singing more and strengthen my musicianship. So yeah, bossa nova is just what can you say? You listen to it and you just feel so good, right?
No doubt
It
about
just,
it. No doubt about
it's just so,
it.
yeah, it makes me feel good. So yeah, I love bossa nova.
Perfect. Guys like Gilberto and Getz may be influences.
And Getz and Gilberto, that album is great. I also love Antonio Carlos Jobim, his albums with Elis Regina is great. I like his album with Frank Sinatra as well, which is Frank Sinatra, so great with interpreting songs as well. I also like Rosa Passos. She's amazing. Plays the guitar amazingly and also sings wonderfully. I particularly like her album with Ron Carter. So yeah, I mean, there's so many artists, but
No doubt. Well,
yeah.
Corona, are you in fact the girl from Ipanema?
I'm a girl from Ipanema. Well, I mean, I'd like to have that kind of feel maybe when I sing bossa nova. I mean, I think the challenge with bossa nova, I mean, there's so many challenges, but syncopated singing, right? Singing on the offbeats, it's quite a challenge. It's not something that Brazilians who grew up listening to that having that rhythm from birth. I mean, they have it, and for me, it's probably not a natural thing, but when you listen to it, that's what I like too.
Yeah.
And then also, if you listen to Gilberto while he's playing the guitar and singing, I mean, yeah, to be able to just sing like a wave, just effortlessly singing. It seems so effortless, and I guess that's what I strive to do, in my singing.
I think you're there. And I love the way you pronounce Gilberto. But it's 17 minutes after the hour. We're talking to the great Karuna Sincho.
Probably would say that I have. He always teases me, says I have a gringo accent. He calls it gringo Portuguese. So
that's very curious. We're going to take a short break. We're talking to Karuna Sincho, rising jazz artist in Indonesia, and she's going to be heard of more. We'll talk to her a bit more after this break.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. EDGE, because truth still matters.
And we're back on the Athletes United Experience platform and the Edge Radio Network, where truth still matters. We were talking to the great Karuna Shinsho, celebrated jazz artist and a rising star, if you will. Would you agree with that?
You're too kind.
Oh, come
Seriously.
on, come on. Listen.
I think I need to hire you as my publicist.
I'm open. You're currently studying piano and classical guitar. Why?
Because I think, well, of course, I would have loved to have studied, those instruments when I was younger, when my brain was more malleable. But still, I think for having a good, strong technical foundation is important. But then with that technical foundation, then you're able to explore and improvise and find your own voice rather than copying someone else's singing or instrumentation. So I definitely, it really has opened up a whole new world for me as I've been studying piano. I'm very fortunate. I, through a very good friend of mine, was introduced to the amazing pianist Cyrus Chestnut, and he has been teaching me, and God, just I've been learning so much, from my teachers. And I think, as in anything, it's always important to keep studying. And so, yeah, I think it will be making me a better singer, I believe, if I'm able to play. And if a pianist or a guitarist is late to the gig or doesn't show up, then maybe eventually, maybe in another lifetime, I'll be able to accompany myself. So.
Well, let's mention that instructor's name again. Cyrus Chestnut, is that his name?
Cyrus Chestnut, yeah. Everybody should just go online and Google him and get his stuff. Amazing. He's an amazing pianist. Yeah. And he's also an amazing teacher too. When you learn from great, I think that's what makes these teachers great. Not all artists can be good teachers, but it's those artists who are great that are very generous and giving of their teachings in order to make their students grow, make them great teachers. And also my teachers really challenged me. I also have a vocal instructor, DC based jazz singer, Lena Saikali, amazing. All of these teachers for me have, they've pushed me to be better by always challenging me, because it's always easier in life in general too, to take the easy route, right? Like for example, for me, I was always so comfortable singing in my lower register. I thought, okay, never sing high. You have that passaggio, in between the lower and upper register. That's really kind of difficult to, manage and make it smooth transition. So I would always just sing in lower keys. And my vocal instructor pushed me to sing, in my upper register. And that also opens you up to so much more, in terms of being able to express yourself. And so I do, in the moment, I'm probably complaining in my mind, oh my God, why are they so difficult and challenging? But because of that, I believe that you grow and you can improve. And so I'm very thankful for bottom kicking teachers.
Absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned all these great mentors, these classical mentors. Is Washington D.C. Great place for rising artists? Is it an incubator for
I mean, unfortunately with the pandemic, I don't know, it's going to be very tough. Some venues have shut down. They're all trying to survive. I mean, because people can't really be gathering in these, a lot of these places have, limited space, and it's hard for them to distance. And I think now with winter, I think a lot of places are having to shut down, and whether they will come back again, I don't know. So it's been really, really tough. I mean, before the pandemic, yes, there was a great scene, lots of great venues to hear jazz. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens on the other side of the pandemic. I think a lot of musicians are suffering, along with, people from other sectors of the society. So it's been tough, but I know that a lot of people have started to go online on social media, sharing their music that way. And I think, that's been a kind of like a healing balm, a salve for people, because I think music does have a great way of bringing people together, and especially during difficult times.
It's the tapestry of our life, without question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What are some of the pros and cons of pursuing life as a jazz vocalist in later in life? Not that we would say.
Are you saying I'm old? Are you saying I'm old?
We're just suggesting that perhaps you're seasoned, if you will.
Very mature woman now. Yes. So, okay. Yeah. Well, as I mentioned before, of course, I would have loved to have studied, all of music when I was younger. I mean, it would have been great to have all of that done earlier. But hey, what can we do? Life is what it is, and we have to seize the opportunities in the moment. But I think now, as a mature woman,
I like that.
you've been through life, right? We've loved, we've lost love, we've been dumped. I myself have been through a lot in life as well. So
some of us have been dumped twice.
Yeah, well, we'll just keep that.
All right, very good.
But yes, I have been dumped. So I think those life experiences really help you to inject life into your songs. So I feel like that is the advantage of being mature, in the sense that you can, you've lived it. So those lyrics, they mean something to you. So hopefully when you sing it, people can feel that, that, oh yeah, she's been through it. She's loved, she's been dumped, she's, whatever.
Speaking of that feeling, speaking of that feeling, not to interrupt you, but I'm just at a loss here for wanting to hear more of your vocals on Smile. Do you mind if we play this out?
Please, that would be great.
Very good. Let's look forward to this.
quando a dor te torturar e a saudade atormentar os teus dias, tristonhos vazios. Sorri quando tudo terminar, quando nada mais restar do teu sonho encantador. Sorri quando o sol perder a luz e sentires uma cruz nos teus ombros, cansados, doridos. Sorri, vai mentindo a tua dor, e ao notar que tu sorrires, todo mundo irá supor que és feliz.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
Sorri, sorri,
Just smile.
smile, just
Just
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the number one reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay,
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
at our dormitory. Yeah, just a few.
And why did you decide to use a cookbook?
Well, we had been doing some cooking during the shutdown and posting on Facebook, and so many people are asking us, not only does it look good, but please share the recipe with us. And so Bernita called me and she said, hey, I have a topic with you. And the rest, as they say, is history. This was my first co-author book. I've published 6 other books.
You published 6 other books?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
How, obviously, not
No, not with you. Yeah, I've done some publishing prior to this as well.
Is that right?
Yes, I've written 3 math books for middle school for McGraw-Hill Publishing Company, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 textbooks.
Wow.
As well as 2 fiction novels and 1 faith-based book, and now this cookbook.
So listen, you're going to say you're a serial producer, is what you are, publishers.
Yeah, I like that. We're productive people.
I can tell. That much is pretty clear. You both have very interesting backgrounds. How do these backgrounds contribute to the creation of Pinch-Done? And we need to sort of show that book, if you will. It's the name of the book, Pinch-Done. And you give us some sense of the origin of that, but first tell us how the backgrounds contribute to the creation of this book.
Anita, why don't you go first?
Well, my background is in marketing, and so I came up with some names, and I presented 7 different potential titles to be, and this is the one that we both gravitated towards. So, you know, and then while cooking, it's a pinch of this, a dash of that, and you want to be done. You just want to get to the done part. For me, I'm always trying to get to done.
Sure.
Bernita is passionately known as the reluctant cook.
The reluctant cook.
Yes, and I am the passionate cook. So, but anything quick and fast, she said, yeah, pinch dash done. So, yeah, it came about. It's a work of love. It's our gift.
Well, how unfortunate that we didn't have some cooking utensils to be there.
Oh, I will come back.
Yes. But there are a lot of cookbooks on the market. What's different about this book?
We begin with an herb chapter because one of the things we want to do is promote some sustainability. And I grew up with an agrarian background. From the country, from the farm. Yes. And so I always have had a love for growing my own herbs and vegetables within season. And so we wanted to promote that. The other part is we are giving back to the community. And I'll let Bernita tell you more about that.
Okay. So there's a philanthropic side to the book. So there are proceeds that go from each book to the Houston Food Bank and to Prairie View A&M agribusiness for the agriculture department. We are aiding and fighting food insecurity. So, you know, it's nice that we're able to eat and able to cook, but there are still families out there who don't have that capability, especially during these times. And with children out of school, that's 2 meals a day that they're probably missing, and that becomes a bigger burden on a family to feed all day for the entire family, especially if with these times if you've been cut back on hours or there's a problem with employment. So we're very conscious of that. So it's more than a cookbook.
It's a work of philanthropy. It's a work of giving. It's a work of recognition. What are some of your more interesting recipes?
Well, there are so many to choose from. My culinary background is very varied. I learned a lot from my grandmother, from my mother, and from my aunt, who's a reluctant cook as well. But my mother was a passionate cook, and so was my grandmother. But one of the things I like to do is experiment, and I really advise people to go out and try different things. I created a rose water vinaigrette salad dressing to go over a tropical mixed fruit. And so it's this experimentation that will just awaken you to so many different things you didn't know about. We have created a lavender ice cream. So there's just those kinds of things that are in there that are a real departure from the ordinary, because we do need to kind of, mix it up a little bit, not be afraid. And that's one of the things we really want to promote with the book is a love for cooking, fellowship around the table, bringing the family back together for those times, and then create your own recipes and be able to pass them down to other generations.
I can tell you what, at this time of day, instantly creates hunger pains. But who were your culinary inspirations? Looking at your mother.
For me, it was my parents, and both of my parents were cooks. My mother was an excellent baker, and she also loved to cook, and everything's just from scratch. And she would, if she looked at a recipe, she would figure out how to change that recipe up to make it more flavorful for a family of 10. So my father was an excellent barbecue grill master, and he built a custom barbecue pit on our family homestead, which is still there today, that we still utilize. My grandmother, who was probably the absolute best, it didn't matter. You make a phone call and tell her you're coming, there's food on the table. And she lived up in the country, 2 hours away. So yeah, I grew up around excellent cooks, and both of my sisters are great cooks too. Better than me.
They wouldn't be married.
They would.
Oh, where did you grow up in Ghana?
I'm a native Houstonian.
Okay. And
I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, but I spent a significant amount of my childhood between Seguin and Gonzales, Texas. Yes, and living on the Guadalupe River at my grandparents' homestead, and that's where we had the orchard. We had peaches, we had plums, we had a huge garden and fresh food. I mean, what I'm talking about, meat and vegetables. So if you wanted chicken, you had to go get the chicken.
That's awful. Because most of those are dried, I'd say, West.
Yes.
Tend to associate Seguin with caught speed tickets. I don't know why.
It is a speed trap. It is.
And then we should mention that this book, Hence Dash Done, was published on the same date that former President Barack Obama's book was published. And I understand that to date, it has outsold his book some order of magnitude. Is that correct?
Not exactly.
But we'll claim that for the future, yes.
We'll catch up.
We're going to catch up.
That's great. What is your favorite recipe?
My favorite recipe is the peppermint ice cream. B actually taught me how to make ice cream, and from there I started creating and making my own different flavors, and it's fun. It's great. I love ice cream, and there are ways to cut back on the fat and not use eggs and substituting the different milks. Wow. Especially if someone is lactose tolerant, there's all kind of ways that you can make substitutes and make it more your own. And that's what it's about, making everything your own. It meets your flavor.
If you can make ice cream, you instantly become a woman of my own heart. That's outrageous.
Thank you.
I would OD on ice cream. So tell our audience about the process of creating a cookbook, especially with two authors. That had to be daunting.
No, that actually was the easier part. I had never written a cookbook. She always wanted to create a cookbook, but we take our recipes and we combine, what are you working on, what am I working on? Let's get in several recipes per week and keep our numbers up. And these are our chapters, so let's make things fit within these chapters. And that's what we did.
And there's also another side of it. There's that creative side, but then there's that technical side of publishing, which I was aware of some of the technical components. Being a math person and writing math books is a very technical type of writing, and writing a cookbook really falls into that technical writing. Writing a fiction novel is more the non-technical. So I was okay with that. But the other part of the process is you must have a food editor. You need someone to do the index, because in every cookbook there is an index. And so there is someone who is responsible for creating that. And you also need a photographer. And you have to have someone to lay out the book. So you're not just turning in a print manuscript, you're actually selecting photos. The process, oh my gosh, there's so many people who are really upset that they don't live next door to me, because part of the process was every picture that is in here was actually cooked. It was prepared in my kitchen. And so the guys that came to do the filming and the photography, it was a feast every day. So for 5 days straight, we cooked all day long. And then we had another day. So it was probably about 7 days of actual cooking from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and photography. So the process, it is quite extensive. It's very tedious. There is food staging. So imagine you're creating, like right now it's the holiday season, and so people are putting up Christmas trees and staging the house for a celebration, where every little plate was had its own little staging process. You had to pick out what color is going to look good with this meal, what type of plate, and all of those kinds of things. So there was a lot that we learned. So
Electrical food stuff, and various meals, and you didn't let me know about any of this stuff.
Oh, well, now we know where you are. We always need tasters.
Yes.
That's all right. It's 15 minutes after the hour. We're talking to the authors of Pinch Dash Done. Mia Harris and Jackie Moore. And we'll be right back after this.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
back. Athletes United Experience is platform on the Edge Radio Network. The truth still matters. As we went to break, we were talking with lovely young ladies here who have extraordinary skills in cooking and culinary arts and making me hungry, as it turns out. We have brought to the stage organic herb here, referred to mostly as, what ladies?
It's a bouquet.
Right, bouquet.
Yes.
As it were, of rosemary and stuff. And it's all good and somehow is germane to good cooking. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Exactly how would you use some of this stuff, the constituents of this stuff?
Well, there are chives that are there. There's rosemary, there's basil, there is oregano. There's actually a Cuban oregano. There is also dill. There's curry. And so those are the things that are currently growing in my garden. And I also threw in a few kumquats so that if you have the ability to grow some fruit for yourself. But throughout our book, in the first chapter, we do have an herb chapter. And we have selected 8 different herbs that we use extensively throughout the book. And we're giving you ideas on how to grow those herbs and use those herbs because we use them throughout the book. And again, I am that passionate cook, but I'm also a passionate gardener. And I will tell you, if someone is thinking about a garden, you do not need a lot of space because my garden is basically an 8x10 section of land between the house and the driveway.
Wow.
And that's it. And I'm able to have a sustainable garden because I compost and I have something all year. Matter of fact, I just planted kale and lettuce because those are cold weather plants.
They were actually good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So it's equivalent to, rotating the soil.
Absolutely, absolutely. And because in our book, we are really promoting this whole idea of food insecurity, how to combat food insecurity. This is why we have this chapter on, we started with herbs and herbal garden because that's simple. Anybody can do it. You can even have pots inside the house if you don't have the land. If you're living, in a high rise or something like that, it is still doable. So we do want to promote this whole idea of sustainability of our land, and that we don't need to introduce all of these different types of chemicals into our bodies. And we have this gives you some control over what you're actually putting into your body.
Food.
Yes.
Listen, we mentioned this idea of food insecurity. Can you explain it a bit more to our audience? What we mean by that?
Food insecurity is not knowing where your next meal is coming from, not having enough food to feed your family, and just not secure in your situation when it comes to meals. So
it's extraordinary as it may sound. It persists. It actually exists locally.
It does, and if you think about it, if we're one of the strongest nations in the world and we're having these issues due to the current COVID situation, think about some of the smaller nations who don't have the same resources that we do. So it's a huge issue. And if you see now some of the food banks and Feeding America don't have enough resources to feed all of the people who are coming. And if you have cars lined up for 5 and 6 miles to get into a food bank and drive through and just get a sack of groceries, we do not have enough food.
This is very real, people. We've seen long extended car lines, as mentioned, with some of those vehicles looking like $40,000, $50,000 vehicles. First a couple years ago,
Right.
And yet they're there to pick up simple goods.
Right. But if you think about it, we've always known that some people may be 1 or 2 checks from being financially in trouble, and if this has been going on for 8-9 months, there are some people who who will tell you they've never been in a food line before? They've never needed assistance before, but now they're there. They're there, and it's sad, but there are ways that we can help.
And as we think about this whole issue of food insecurity, some people are food insecure and don't realize it. And for the audience that's out there, whenever you have to make a decision between what bills do I pay and what groceries do I buy, when you have to decide, we're now going to start to go through the drive-through for the dollar menu because that's what we can afford rather than something else. For mom and dad, or mom or dad, or grandma, or whomever, to make a decision about what are we going to eat for breakfast or not eat for breakfast, because we are trying to stretch something. So there are parents that are out there who are making a decision. We're going to have coffee for breakfast, and the bacon and eggs and the biscuits are going to go for the kids because they need this more than we do. That decision right there is already saying you are suffering at some level from food insecurity. You may not have to get in that line, but you are now making choices, hard choices about who's going to eat, what are we going to eat, and when are we going to eat. So this whole notion of food insecurity is far greater than what many people think. And it is hitting every county, every state in this country. And again, I go back to my roots. We never suffered from food insecurity because we grew our food. And I just really honestly urge all of your listeners that are out there to really think about taking some part of the space that they have and seriously consider a garden, because that is going to be one place where you can have, again, control and also be able to provide, because we are entering a space and a place where many of us, maybe 2 generations from the country, from a farm. So, you know, we got some skills we need to to go back and dig up, resurrect. Yes.
I'll tell you what, you ladies are touching on some important items and cut across a lot of demographics. Talk about it that way, making choices about who's what.
Well, we also have a space on our website where you can go and donate directly to the Houston Food Bank or Prairie View A&M University. Our website is pinch-done.com.
Pinch-done.com. Let's say that again for the benefit of our viewers. That website is pinch-done.com. Pinch-done.com.
Right, and you can donate directly if you just want to contribute to the Houston Food Bank.
Absolutely. Look at it on our screen, ladies and gentlemen. Look at it on the site at the moment. Pinch-done.com. Contributions are made in anyone's name, right?
Well, yeah, sure. You can make them in anyone's name, and no contribution is too small.
There it is. There it is. I have another question for you on this photo, you guys. The aprons are interesting. The backstory behind them. What's going on with the aprons?
Oh, we want it to be a little different. Yeah. The purple. I know some people look at that purple and go, "Oh, those are queens." You know, that's the color of royalty, and it is. True. But that is also the color of our alma mater. That is one of the colors at Prairie View A&M, purple and gold. So we wanted to pay honor to the university that gave us so many of the skill sets that we're using in order to even be able to create a book. And so we are supporting local small business owners. We actually contracted with 2 different businesses to create the apron. One is a designer, Miss Kimberly Small. And then Gwen is the one who did the embroidery. She has her own business. And so we're supporting probably about 20 different small businesses in the area with the creation of this book.
Oh, so your logo was designed.
Well, the logo design the logo design is by Gwen St. Julian, who's a graduate of Prairie View A&M University. And she was more than happy to help out with that in her creative marketing role. So, but yes, we have supported several small businesses in the area, and that was another goal.
Let's elevate that name again. Gwen
St. Julian.
St. Julian.
Yes.
You designed it.
She created the logo.
You created the logo. Gwen, wherever you are out there, people, if you know Gwen St. Julian, if you do not know Gwen St. Julian, I want you to come familiar with that name. She's a local entrepreneur and a prizing young lady who deserves our support. She's done a great job with these very, very different. Now, small businesses are essential to the community, and that's made more apparent during this pandemic.
Yes.
I think we all agree on that. How is Pinch Dash done giving back in ways that
Well,
could accomplish it?
with the book, we had an opportunity to showcase several different businesses, talents. The photographer, Ken Jones Photography. You see the photos in the book and throughout the book. And just a cover, you know that he is very passionate about his work also. And he did an excellent job. We have
Terrence Johnson, who created the cover design, the front cover and the back cover. Is created by a young man who is local. His name is Terrence Johnson.
Terrence Johnson.
Yes, he created that beautiful book cover for us. We're going to be giving a shout out to all of those small businesses that we contracted with on our Facebook page. Throughout we're going to do like a 12 days of Christmas countdown where we're giving thanks to all of those who contributed in some way to the creation of this book, because it truly does take a village. And when we go into these kinds of things, it's so easy to contract with a large business, the big box kinds of businesses. But we have learned during this pandemic that it is the small businesses that are the backbone of the community. And so we really want to support them and acknowledge them. And so we'll be doing a 12 days of Christmas shout out countdown to all of those businesses.
Right, but not only are they the backbone, but they're the first ones who are negatively impacted when the shutdown starts. The larger companies start to cut off the smaller businesses and stop their contracts, and a lot of these businesses had contracts, and so now that's not a part of theirs. One of our businesses had lost 80% of their work, and they were happy to come and help us and work on this. And it gave them a sense of pride and something to do. So we were extremely happy and excited about the businesses that we work with.
We're very conscientious about that because both Bernita and I are business owners ourselves. We are small business owners ourselves. So we've been impacted. But even in this time where we've been impacted, God's grace has just really showered upon us with this whole idea and allowed us to find something that was creative and needed to just create something new.
This is a relatively new, recent idea.
April,
right? April, and we went and launched on November the 17th. So yeah, it was great. But what we are encouraging now, even with the book, is to go to your local bookstores and gift shops and help support them because they need help too. So we want to keep our local bookstores open.
Yes, we're having a book signing at Galveston Bookstore, which is a mom and pop bookstore in Galveston.
On Sunday?
On Sunday, this Sunday.
This Sunday.
Right, but that's the 13th.
11 to 1. The Galveston Bookshop, and another book signing on Thursday.
Galveston is donating all of their proceeds back to the Houston Food Bank.
Yes.
Oh, come on. That's full circle here. Let's
yes, right.
These authors will be appearing at the Galveston Bookstore.
Yes.
This coming Sunday, December 13th, from 11 to 1. 11 to 1. The proceeds of which will be circulated back into the Houston Food Bank.
Yes, and PV.
And PV.
Yes. We have a second book signing on Thursday from 5 to 7 at the Potter's Wheel gift shop. And that is in Northwest Houston. And they are supporting us, and they're going to carry some of the books in their store after the book signing is over. Again, another small business that's an independent business. So we have those who help with the creation of the actual book, And then we're continuing to reach out to other small businesses in the marketing component and getting the books out there and being able to support them and give them some more exposure as we get exposure.
But if your local bookstore doesn't have it in, ask that they order it for you so that they then benefit also from the book. So just be a little patient if they don't have it.
That's it. I think the idea is to create a kind of interconnected value.
Turning dollars back in the community.
Yes. There we go. $50 back to the community. You guys have been associated with this Houston Black Market, if you will, Buffalo Soldiers.
Shrine of Black Madonna?
Black Market.
The Shrine of the Black Madonna? I think that's where it is.
That's one of the local bookstores. We're reaching out to everyone.
I see.
Yes,
I see.
we have been in contact with the Buffalo Soldiers Museum, and so if anyone else is out there listening and would like for us to have a conversation, then just contact us. Go to our website and leave us a message.
Oh, it's no doubt. It's no doubt. You guys are local philanthropists, if you will. Creating local philanthropy. That's the idea behind this, I think. Working. Respect.
Yes.
Ladies, we have nothing but praise. We have nothing but honor to have both of you here today. I want to thank you both for showing up, coming in and giving us some insight and information of what you do and how you do it. Again, the book, Inch-Done, and it's only a small portion of what these young ladies bring to the entrepreneurial effort of our community for benefit. We want to thank them again for joining us today on Edge Radio Networks for Truth Still Matters. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all back here again next week around this time. Thank you very much.